Finding the pressing community needs was the objective of a community walkthrough involving representatives from the Department of Constituency Empowerment and the Department of Community Development and Social Services. According to information provided to the media, the intent was to achieve effective interaction with community members to talk about issues they face within the family as well as issues within the community. It is understood that during the mission, the most critical issues discussed were land for housing, the paving of old alleyways, the creation of social programs for youth, matters related to the aging and the disabled, the use of green spaces for recreation and family parks, assistance to build homes for young people, permanent jobs, and skills training. The information acquired would assist both departments in collaborating to meet the needs of communities around the island. Glenn Barth reporting for SK Newsline.
Vice President of the United States Kamala Harris and Prime Minister of the Bahamas Philip Davis co-hosted the U.S. Caribbean Leaders Meeting in Nassau, the Bahamas, on June 8th. Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Terence Drew, and Minister of Energy Maynard were part of the Caribbean Leaders delegation that met with the Vice President for the one-day meeting. Vice President Harris, in her opening remarks, spoke to the significance of the meeting as a means of strengthening ties between the United States and the Caribbean region. At the meeting, announcements were made including more than $100 million in new assistance for the Caribbean region. The Vice President made announcements on the U.S. Caribbean Partnership to address the climate crisis 2030 and the need for enhanced diplomatic presence in the Eastern Caribbean, the crisis in Haiti, and matters of security and firearms trafficking.
Since we last met in Los Angeles, the United States has helped to facilitate clean energy projects throughout the region. I'll offer some examples. In St. Lucia, the work that we have done thus far to deploy solar microgrids to power schools, hospitals, and water treatment plants. Dominica and St. Kitts to develop commercial geothermal power projects. Antigua and Barbuda to train a clean energy workforce. And the Dominican Republic to integrate battery storage in their energy grid. Our work together has also helped build capacity for disaster preparedness. For example, the administrator of NOAA led a group of U.S. experts to Barbados to support regional resilience, including early warning systems and sharing climate information with communities.
The U.S. Caribbean Leaders Meeting is the fourth multilateral meeting the United States Vice President has hosted with the Caribbean leaders. Similar meetings were held in April, June, and September of 2022. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
Music's finest artists converge in Bastia from June 22nd to June 24th for the 25th hosting of the St. Kitts Music Festival. Hitting the festival main stage will be Skillibeng, Chronix, Coffee, Byron Messiah, Anthony B, Governor, Romaine Virgo, TJ, Valiant.
Them boy don't got no body.
Grand Masters, Collision Band, Small X Band, New Vibes Band International, Mr. Bagdal, Akai You Sweet, Greedy, Guess the Band, Ricardo Drew, Patrice Roberts, Skinny Fabulous, Nyla Blackman, Status. Erica Edwards, 313 Family, Gramps Morgan, Nitra B, Ear Supply, Dexter Daps, and Burner Boy. It's the 25th edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival from June 22nd to June 24th at Warner Park. An experience like no other. Tickets are now available at stkittsmusicfestival.com.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
Ah!
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
you're hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar.
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
The Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis will be host to several events commemorating the 42nd anniversary of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, which officially began with the signing of the Treaty of Bastille on the steps of government quarters on Church Street. The June 13 to 16 period of commemoration will include talks at several of the nation's schools. The tour will comprise Commissioner to the OECS for St. Kitts and Nevis, Ambassador Larry Vaughan, and Head of Communications for the OECS, Ms. Loverly Anthony, highlighting the theme Vision, Integration, Sustainability, Progress. On June 15, the OECS integration movement will be at the heart of a panel discussion that will occur at ZZ Television and will feature the panelists Dr. Didicus Jules, the Director General of the OECS, Mr. Larry Vaughan, the St. Kitts and Nevis Commissioner to the OECS, Mrs. Frances Ann Satney, an OECS integrationist, and Mrs. Carol Daly Ferdinand, a youth parliamentarian. The panel discussion will be hosted by Mrs. Rudisha John Brooks, a lawyer and regional integrationist. Other activities marking the occasion would include Colors Day, where photos showing the OECS colors could be posted on social media using hashtag OECS Day. A fun walk is also a special occasion as part of the commemoration. On June 18, Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew and Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Denzel Douglas will participate in an OECS flag raising ceremony ahead of the opening of the 73rd meeting of the OECS Authority to take place at the ECCB headquarters. Glenn Barth reporting for SKN Newsline.
Well drilling is about to begin at a site identified in Cabbage Tree, Keon this week, close to the island's main road and in the vicinity of the gas station. The project, once successful, is expected to bring major relief to the community of Keon, which has experienced water woes for many years. The project is being administered and executed by Bedrock Exploration Development Technologies BEAD St. Kitts Limited, which has been contracted by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Water Services Department, headed by Mr. Cromwell Williams, manager and hydrologist. Traffic along the island's main road in the locality of Cabbage Tree will be diverted to facilitate the carrying out of the works, which is estimated to be completed in several weeks. In an interview with the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service, Mr. Williams said the Water Services Department was happy for the moment. I want to say that this is a moment that we are very happy for at the Water Services Department, and by extension the entire government and the island, because when this well is successful, we expect that we will get a good well here. It will bring tremendous relief for the water shortage that we have been experiencing, particularly in the Keon area. And so while well drilling is not 100% surety, we have engaged BEAD because BEAD has demonstrated that it has access to more modern technology which they have used in identifying the site. And so we're pretty confident that we will get a well. According to Mr. Williams, he is hopeful that the project will be successful and that the well will produce as much as 500,000 gallons per day. That will not only service the Keon area, but the surrounding communities as far as Keys and Canada in one direction to as far as Molyneux and the Phillipses area in the other direction. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.
Music's finest artists converge in Bastille from June 22nd to June 24th for the 25th hosting of the St. Kitts Music Festival. Hitting the festival main stage will be Skillibeng, Chronix, Coffee, Byron Messiah, Anthony B, Governor, Romaine Virgo, TJ, Valiant.
Them boy don't got no bodies.
Grand Masters, Collision Band, Small X Band, New Vibes Band International, Mr. Bagdal, Akayu Sweet, Preedy, Kess the Band, Ricardo Drew, Patrice Roberts, Skinny Fabulous, Nyla Blackman, Status. Erica Edwards, 313 Family, Gramps Morgan, Nitra B, Ear Supply, Dexter Daps, and Burner Boy. It's the 25th edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival from June 22nd to June 24th at Warner Park. An experience like no other. Tickets are now available at stkidsmusicfestival.com.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
New reports suggest China is in talks with Cuba to establish a spy base on the island nation and just 100 miles south of the U.S. According to the Wall Street Journal, the two countries have reached a secret agreement for China to establish an electronic eavesdropping facility, which would allow the Chinese to potentially intercept electronic communications throughout the southeastern portion of our country. So here with us now to talk more about this, former CIA officer and FBI special agent Tracy Walder. Tracy, thank you for your time. Certainly disturbing if it's true, because we don't have 100% confirmation, because U.S. officials are remaining anonymous, the ones who are reporting this. But if it is true, how dangerous could this be for America?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Nicole. And you're right. We aren't certain that this is true, although I would imagine that we're not just going to sort of come out with this information, because we want to try to mitigate it behind the scenes. Really, the way that I see the danger in this is something called ELINs, or electronic communications. That's what the Chinese want to collect by having some kind of a listening post, is what we call them, on Cuba, which is about 100 miles from Florida. And that would really target the southeastern portion of America. And so we have to remember Central Command is in Tampa, Florida, and then Fort Bragg is in North Carolina. And they would potentially be able to collect on those bases. Now, certainly those bases have mitigation in place to stop that kind of collection. But really, that's what would be in the zone, if you will, in this kind of communication. And also, they're probably looking at ship traffic as well, going in and out of that area.
All right, so I want to talk about the mitigation in just a minute. But first, I mean, Tracy, is this something that's really out of the ordinary? Because we now have evidence China spies on us, think Chinese spy balloon. But we also know that we spy on China, we spy on other countries spy on us. I mean, is this all routine, so to speak, versus potentially nefarious?
I think that that's an excellent question, Nicole. I don't want to use the word routine, right? I don't know that it's something that's occurring every single day. However, I think something that's flown under the radar a bit is in 2017, the Chinese were they bought up land in the highest point of Washington, D.C., with the goal in mind really to build a listening post there. That was stopped ultimately by Congress, but this isn't, I guess, what we would say the first attempt to do something like this. And you're right, we have listening posts out near Taiwan, and we do have our spy planes out in the South China Sea. And so it's, I guess, par for the course and expected behavior.
All right. So, Tracy, one thing you mentioned when you answered the first question, you mentioned mitigation. And we know that National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby today said in part that the U.S. is taking steps to counter China's efforts to invest in infrastructure around the world. So what does that really mean? I mean, are we doing enough at this point?
It's hard to know. Obviously, I don't work at the CIA anymore, and I don't have insight exactly into what they're doing. But I believe that what he's referring to there is what we would call proactive measures. We're looking at what China's next steps may be in terms of building these listening posts and how to protect ourselves from the encroachment of these listening posts and to stop them from being able to collect on them. And we're probably doing that most likely diplomatically in dealing with some of these countries that they may try to approach. And one of the things we have done is we have obtained more land and bases in the Philippines, which is closer to China and enables us to have a better understanding of what they're doing.
Well, Tracy, for a lot of people, this is ringing bells of the Cold War. And talk to us about the similarities here, because we know some Washington lawmakers are saying, hey, China is using, quote, the Soviet Union's playbook. Those words came from Representative Mike Waltz of Florida today. So is that kind of potentially what's happening here?
It's interesting, Nicole. I'll be honest. I'm not certain that I was completely convinced that we were in a Cold War with China because, we're so reliant on their global production chain, and China's relying on everyone else for that. But the interesting thing is we are looking at political hostility. We are looking at military tensions. And I guess the turning point for me is that they really are employing these kind of Soviet era active measures. They are using propaganda. They are using agents of influence. They are using written and oral disinformation, which is something we really haven't seen from them until recently. And so I do think that they are sort of taking a page out of the Soviet playbook, if you will.
Oh, and last question for you, Tracy. I mean, is this all part of China really trying to secure its spot as the dominant world power?
I'm not certain that they want to be the dominant world power, but what I am seeing with China is there is this reliance to develop these networks for natural resources across the world. That is something that they are deficient in and that they really need. And they really are wanting to be relevant and on par with the rest of, I guess, what we would call those kind of powerhouse nations. And so I do think that this is an aggressive move by them to establish sort of that co-dominance, if you will.
All right, Tracy Walder, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
An early morning raid at the controversial Kahal Yahweh religious compound in St. James saw the security forces removing 24 children and 15 adults. Only one male was among the detained. This is the third major security operation in recent years at the entity involving children. Joel Croskill has the details.
The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, through a joint operation with several stakeholders, visited the Kahal Yahweh religious compound earlier today in Paradise, Montego Bay, St. James, following reports received by the agency concerning children that were being housed at the premises. Commenting on the matter, CPFA's acting CEO, Michelle McIntosh Harvey, pointed out that the children were in need of care and protection as stipulated under Section 8 of the Child Care and Protection Act, which outlines circumstances in which children are deemed to be in need of care and protection.
During the operation, a total of 23 children were removed from the dwelling. They were brought before the court and were deemed to be in need of care and protection and have been temporarily accommodated at a safe location where they will be provided the necessary intervention.
The acting CEO added that CPFSA officers are still on the ground, ensuring that the children's needs are met at the highest level. Meanwhile, head of the Area 1 Police Division, ACP Clifford Blake, provided additional information.
The information that led to the operation was that children were being deprived of formal education from a properly registered educational institution. The are not being immunized as is required by law. They are being housed in a communal living condition, which is not conducive to the well-being and welfare of the children. They are being forced into intimacy under the guise of being married at the age of 16 by persons who are not registered marriage officers. And also the information is that when they have been disciplined, they have been exposed to inhumane treatment, physical abuse, head shaven, among other things.
15 adults were also taken in during the operation. And in 2019, during 2 separate police raids, 6 children in total were taken from the Kahal Yahweh Church. Some of the allegations at that time being investigated included uncertified marriages and underage pregnancies. CVM Live will continue to track the outcomes of this report. Joel Crosskill, CVM Live.
Yiwu is a town of trinkets. Billions of cheap consumer goods can be found here all year round. Huang Yunzhi's family has sold decorations at this market for more than 20 years. He's relieved the logistical problems of running a business during the coronavirus pandemic have ended. But still, the mood here is less than festive.
When the government totally cancelled the pandemic restrictions, I became very confident. But recovery is slow, which I didn't predict.
Economists say China's economic rebound has peaked.
After an initial burst of business activity following the end of COVID-19 restrictions, economists say recent data indicates a possible slowing of momentum, with imports contracting, industrial output falling short of expectations, and youth unemployment hitting a record high.
Factory gate prices, the price distributors pay to producers, fell faster than expected in May as reduced demand dampens the recovery of the manufacturing sector.
That early burst of optimism that we would see a 12-month expansion in Chinese economic activity when the economy reopened, I think that has faltered.
Domestic spending is also down as people are more careful with their money, choosing to save rather than splurge.
Yes, I think there's some hurt from the pandemic. Now many shops sell pre-packaged meals to lower the prices. Because consumption is low, recovery will take time.
And although travel restrictions have been lifted, data shows more people may be taking holidays, but they're spending less. Economists say there are several reasons for this.
One concern is that people are worrying about their job prospect. And we can see a lot of big tech companies are laying off people, and also the private economy is slowing down in some areas, and then deter people from spending more.
Huang says he's just happy his business endured the challenges of the pandemic.
These past 3 years were difficult, but we survived. Things will become better and better. Welcome everybody, come to China for business.
Despite the lackluster economic outlook, he says he has to believe in brighter days ahead. Jessica Washington, Al Jazeera, Yiwu, China.
Another legal headache for Donald Trump. He's become the first former American president to face federal criminal charges, less than 3 months after he was indicted in New York for allegedly falsifying business records. Trump says it's a hoax.
Our country is going to hell, and they come after Donald Trump, weaponizing the Justice Department, weaponizing the FBI. We can't let this continue to go on because it's ripping our country to shreds. We have such big problems, and this shouldn't be one of them.
He's facing 7 counts related to the mishandling of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. In August last year, federal officials seized dozens of boxes of files from his home, many of them classified. But Trump insists he's done nothing wrong.
It's just a continuation, 7 years, even after I'm out. But it's called election interference. They're trying to destroy a reputation so they can win an election. That's just as bad as doing any of the other things that have been done over the last number of years, and especially during the 2020 election.
And Republicans have jumped to his defence, including some of his challenges for the Republican nomination for next year's presidential election. But US President Joe Biden has denied accusations of political interference.
Mr. President, what do you say to Americans to convince them that they should trust the independence and fairness of the Justice Department when your predecessor, Donald Trump, repeatedly attacks it?
Because you notice, I have never once, not one single time, suggested to the Justice Department what they should do or not do, or else bringing a charge or not bringing a charge. I'm honest.
And God bless America. Thank you very much.
Trump says he's summoned to appear in court in Miami on Tuesday, but it's not clear if he's planning to turn up. And even if the charges result in a conviction, that still won't prevent him from running for president in 2024. Alex Beard, Al Jazeera.
General Secretary of the SKNFA, Tishelle McLean, was recently on Good Morning SKN, speaking on the latest developments with the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association. These include the historic hosting of the CONCACAF Caribbean Club Shield in August in St. Kitts, the senior men's national team competing for a chance to qualify for the CONCACAF Gold Cup, and developments in the domestic leagues.
Now we are competing against Curacao. That will be on the 16th of June. Okay. And that will be at the DRV PNK Stadium, that is in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. Presently, our players are on camp from the 5th until the 13th, and then we'll move over to the CONCACAF Range Hotel. Okay. In preparation for this game. Now, if we win this game, we then move on to compete against French Guiana or St. Martin. Okay. This will happen at the same venue, but on the 20th of June. Okay. Then, when we win that, not if, when we win that. I like this. Yes. We'll now move on to the group stage of the Gold Cup. Okay, good stuff.
Ms. McLean also spoke about the hosting of the CONCACAF Caribbean Club Shield in August.
Having 16 teams that are going to vie for the CONCACAF Cup Shield Championship. Now, our very own St. Paul's United Football Club is representing St. Kitts Nevis in this competition. So right now, I just want to take this opportunity to thank the government for their assistance, particularly the Ministry of Sports, Honorable Samuel Duggins, the Ministry of Tourism, Ms. Master Henderson, and in particular the Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Drew. They've been instrumental in their support of empowering us and assisting us in ensuring that this event comes off with a bang.
Of course. And how is the logistics going on so far?
We have a team organized for that, so we'll be in your face hopefully from next week, sensitizing persons about this tournament, the advertisement, etc., and why you should be there.
So the tournament will be held here in our island?
Yes, it will be held here in August from the 3rd to the 13th. Yes, and it's going to be very exciting. It will both be held at the Warner Park Football Stadium and the Technical Center in St. Peters.
Oh, nice.
She also gave an update on domestic leagues.
We have the SKNFA Premier League, we have the SKNFA Division 1 League, and the Elvis Star Brown Women's League. Okay. You would have known Elvis Star Brown. He was one of our famous footballers, and he believed in the advancement of women football. He wanted to have the home and away aspect, but that was not successful. But as such, we still needed to take football out to the community because we had some challenges with Warner Park and the lighting. But that has been addressed, thankfully, by the minister and the SKNFA.
Thank you.
So what we did, we identified a few fields around the island, which includes Nevis as well. That was in the second round. And we've taken football back to the community. Now, I must say it has been exciting, and the revenues have definitely been good because the turnout is actually phenomenal.
That's true.
I'm telling you, it is. You actually get families out to watch these games.
That's true.
And right now, with the FA coming up and we being in second round, basically halfway there, the excitement is there. So there is never a dull moment at football.
On Thursday, the draw for the CONCACAF Caribbean Club Shield took place, which saw St. Paul's United drawn in Group A with Junior Stars from St. Martin, Young Holland from Curacao, and Metropolitan from Puerto Rico. The tournament will run in St. Kitts for the very first time, a major feat by the SKNFA. The Sugar Boys, in preparation for their upcoming CONCACAF Gold Cup preliminary match next week, played a practice match on Thursday against a high soccer academy from Orlando, Florida, winning 4-0. Goal scorers Omari Sterling James, Romain Sawyers, Taekwon Tyrrell, and Rowan Liebert. The team will play its next scrimmage against Haiti on Monday as preparations intensify. The Sugar Boys will play Curaçao in the first preliminary match. A victory will then earn them the spot in the second prelim against the winner of French Guiana and Dutton Martin to earn historic qualification for the 2023 CONCACAF Gold Cup. It took penalty kicks in both SKNFA FA Cup semi-final matches to determine the finalists for this year's competition. Rams Village Superstars defeated St. Peter's FC on penalty kicks 6-5 after they drew 1-1 during regulation time. During regulation, it was Village's Tiran Hanley who scored in the 34th minute, while Shaquille Barzi equalized for St. Peter's in the 85th minute. The penalty scores for Village: Dajal Kelly, Tiran Hanley, Dennis Fleming, Kimari Rogers, Austin Henry, and for St. Peter's, Deani Stevens, Aidan Nurse, Kirkland Harris, and Kareem Harris. In the second semi-finals at 8:15 p.m. at Warner Park, SL Horses St. Paul's United defeated MSCR United Oru Jets 8-7 in penalty kicks after drawing 0-0 in regulation time. St. Paul's goal scorers Kalanji Clark, Malik Clark, Ordell Fleming, Omar Francis, Keith Roy Freeman, Don Roy Liebert, DeAndre Challenger, and Javon Leader. The penalty scores for Old Road, Nequan Brown, Bernal Hobson, Kalen Liebert, Jardel Isaac, Kendall Liebert, Zian Drew, and Anthony Keynes. That means Village Superstars and St. Paul's United will be this year's SKNFA FA Cup finalists. The finals will be played later this month at the Warner Park.